So here we are in Cup of Care. Dun, dun, dun. We both got our cups.
We've got.
And we both care. I think we need to get special mugs made. I think I'm going to look into that. I think that would be good. And it's the 1st of December and I can't believe it. And I this morning came into my office first thing and saw this amazing sunrise in the distance. And so I grabbed my coat and boots and went out and took some photographs. And when I had done that, I thought to myself, do you know what? I think we all need a little bit of light and sparkle in our lives throughout December. We could be our own advent calendar. We could do and have anything to do with light and sparkle just to keep us going, because otherwise the focus might just be a strike for every day of December. And who wants to focus on that? So
no, let's not. Let's do that. That's a great idea. I've never heard of that before, and I think that's amazing. What a great way to use those advent calendars. Yeah, definitely. Let's do that.
Yeah, and you don't have to post it. Lots of people don't like doing that. You know, they want to keep it private. But I think as long as you just do one little thing that brings you light or sparkle, then it moves you forward, doesn't it? Where are you? And obviously not where are you, but where are you in your training? And just remind me exactly what you've been up to in the last week.
Well, I'm celebrating because I am at the end of year 2.
I think you definitely need to be doing this. Well done, you. Well done.
Several other people who've helped me get there, I have to say, they deserve pats on the backs as well. I've just spent the last 4 weeks on placement. You might remember we were talking last time about a virtual placement I was about to start.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my goodness. What an amazing opportunity that was. I absolutely loved it. It was everything that I hoped it would be. It was experimental. It was immersive. It was challenging.
All my favourite words. Tell me what you mean by a virtual placement.
Yeah, so it was a 2-week placement and it was run by the trust, not by university, but by the trust. And the trust organised for us to have lots of mini sessions where people came to speak to us about their expert field. So people like neurologists came to speak to us. Don't think I've ever spoken to a neurologist in my life, but that was an absolutely amazing talk they gave us about brain waves and about different neurological conditions that we might come across. But then in between the talks, there was a lot of practical inputs where we were problem solving and with a life-size doll who spoke to us, who became very ill, and we had to figure out why this person was very ill. And also using a VAR headset, where a bit like a computer game, says a woman in her late 40s, where literally the set of the computer game is a ward, and you've got to carry out all the tasks in order to diagnose the patient. And we did these things as groups of 4 or 5 students at a time. So good you really did get into it and forget that it was a doll or forget that it was just VAR, and you just really started to get into this mindset of how to use the ABCDE assessment tool. That was a key part of what we were doing, was to use that every single time as a priority setting device that gets you to really the heart of what is potentially wrong with the patient. And for me, what I hoped to get from it and what I did get from it was to really start to develop that reassurance in my own clinical skills that one day I will find myself in a position where I need to help somebody quickly. And it's always baffled me, how do nurses do that? Because it's like they've got a magic ability to figure out what's wrong. And I feel like I've actually been given a little bit of the secret. I've been let in to the secret of how they do that. And one of the ways to do it is with the ABCDE. When you use that format, in a very structured way. This is how they stay calm, because they're looking airway, breathing, circulation, disability, exposure, and they're working their way down. So if you've cracked that the patient is breathing, and that they've got a patent airway, then straight away you can relax a little bit, because you know they're not going to die of oxygen deprivation in the next 30 seconds. So that allows you time to think about, right, okay, airway and breathing's fine. Let's have a look at the circulation. What do we need to know about that? Is that where the issue is? And when you start thinking in that way, it makes me feel like a nurse.
Oh my goodness, I'm bowled over. I don't actually know what to say. How wonderful. So, gosh, I've got 101 questions for you now. So, first of all, this is the first time that you've used it. Is it a new tool, and are they planning to use it in your third year?
Yes, absolutely. My university, or they call it SIMMAN, SIMMAN. It's available nationwide. All sorts of institutions do use it. We used it for the first time at the beginning of year 2, but in university, but also our trust has it, and I believe my trust makes it available to other trusts, and they use it for their own staff. So literally our timetable was fitting around other staff's timetables of people on every single ward, the theatres, the critical care. Everybody was coming to do simulations, because such an amazing tool to use, and hopefully by having that so closely resembling real life means that the trust can really raise the standards of everybody's expertise in a very safe way. You can really see the value of it, can't you, in terms of
definitely.
You may be in a part of the hospital where you think emergencies aren't going to happen, but they do, and when they do, you want to feel prepared, and this is the opportunity to really practice those skills. But yeah, I think at the moment our trust is making their resources available to other trusts that haven't got that technology yet, but I can really see how every trust will invest, because the return on investment must be massive.
Amazing. And of course, the other thing is it really lends itself to one of the important tenets of the People Promise, and that being innovation and technology. I mean, that is,
Absolutely.
that's kind of like the future. And just as a matter of interest, you're talking about the gamification side of it, which is obviously a big thing in technology now. So with that in mind, that when you're actually going you're going through things and you're in the wards and you're collecting things, do you get like rewards and badges and things along your way for having done certain tasks? Is it gamified to the point where you actually get rewards?
Yes. The way this particular software works is you get a score at the end.
You get a what?
You get a score.
Oh, score. Sorry.
Yeah. It's my northern accent.
I'm so sorry. I thought you said a scar, and I thought, well, that's kind of defeating the object.
Yeah, I'm hoping to not get too many scars out of all of this. But who knows? But yeah, you get a score at the end that tells you how well, and it comes down to things like, did you wash your hands prior to meeting the patient, and did you put a cannula in order to do it won't let you do a blood test till you put a cannula in, and you have to get the patient's history, and you have to check all of the vital signs, and every part of this process gets a score. So at the end of the simulation, you get a score based on how well you did that. So some of it's about really playing the game, and just clicking in the right places, but it's also the things like remembering to get the prescription from the doctor, and looking at the patient's allergies. You don't just give them penicillin without checking whether they're allergic or not.
Of course, it's so good. Yeah. And do you think they would use the tool in a slightly different way for nurses on the wards as a kind of for looking at competencies,
yes,
signing those off, because that would be an amazing way to do that as well, wouldn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because you, with the best will in the world, you're not going to come across every situation in a working environment. It's the worst scenario might happen on someone's day off, you know, which is great for the people who are there. But if it's not your day to be in, then you're going to miss out on that real life
definitely.
But that's the great thing about the virtual stuff is it feels real. You know, as soon as you get over the fact that you're acting and there's a rubber dummy there, as soon as you forget that, and you do forget it really quickly, this is what your body and your brain does, doesn't it? It becomes real.
Yes.
And the nerves that you feel going into that situation, they're real nerves. You know, and it's and you learn to control those nerves.
Yeah.
And so definitely it's such an opportunity to hopefully test out some situations that are never going to happen. But how many times have people been in a situation that they really never expected, and there they are, and they're making life-changing decisions for people, not just for the patient, but these decisions affect the staff too. You know, that was, and we did a really interesting session on the human factors, which I absolutely adored. And one of the key things that the lady teaching us was saying to us is that, yes, that of course this has an impact on the patient, but that the impact on the patient then rebounds onto the staff that made those decisions. You know, so this is part of resilience and about staff well-being, and making sure that staff can go into their job every day and not be traumatized. And when terrible things happen, they're able to process those events and deal with them, and still have mental well-being themselves.
Oh, I think it's fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing it. You know, I can see what an impact it's had on you. So animated by it. And it is kind of mind-blowing, isn't it? Because you're thinking, not only are you able to enhance skill, learn through experience, but also the behind the scenes use of technology here. It kind of has no bounds, you know, the potential of it is fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing. So, I thought, bearing in mind that you're celebrating your 2nd year, if you were open to it, we would have a little kind of chat about a wellbeing wheel that I've created. And I know I've given you a copy of it already, which hopefully you'll show in a minute. That's brilliant. The wellbeing wheel is it's quite a dynamic tool, really, that I've created, and I think you can use it in so many different scenarios. So, for example, I've started having the conversations with the people that I'm coaching in my cohorts as we get to the end of our time together, as a little bit of an overview and an evaluation tool. It could be used on a feedback from a meeting, from a clinical supervision. But I think if you're open to it, we could potentially give it like a bit of an overview of year 2 of student nurses' wellbeing journey. Is that okay with you?
Yeah, that sounds really great.
It seems like the perfect timing for it. So there's a couple of little things just to say from the beginning with it. It's a wheel. So like everything that we've always talked about, there's no right or wrong way. The wheel is just the container. And the way to look at it is that the outside of the wheel is the 10. No, so it's the other way around, isn't it?
The one.
Beg your pardon. Yeah. The outside of the wheel is the 1 and the middle is the 10. And what we're doing here is we're looking at a scale of 1 to 10, where 10 is the highest and 1 is the lowest.
Yeah.
So what we do by asking the questions is it gives you the opportunity to fill in your own wheel. And everybody's wheel will be slightly wobblier than anybody else's. That's very difficult to say. We're not going to get a perfect wheel, but the point is that the wheel will still move forward no matter how wobbly it is. And really, it's an opportunity to have a look at the areas that are a little bit more wobbly than others and see if those would be the ones that you would like to maybe focus on and address at a later stage. The other thing to say with the wellbeing wheel is that it is dynamic and fluid. So what you say today in January might be totally different because things change, and it's for that reason it's actually quite nice as a little bit of a tool just to track yourself, to do it in pencil or have many copies and date them so that you can actually see your own progress. And it is just for you, but it's visual. So yeah, so I think at the beginning of any exercise, I think it's really nice just to ground yourself and focus in on the dot in the middle of the wheel, because that's you, and take maybe in your own time just 2 or 3 really lovely deep restorative breaths in through the nose and out through the mouth. We'll do that together. Okay, so remember, there's no right or wrong, there's no judgment. It's just that some of the things may bring up some conversations that we can have around, around the points, which is also interesting. So I'm going to, it doesn't matter where you start, but I'm just going to start with this first one here for us. Do you feel in your second year of training to be a nurse, Janet, that you've been able to ask for what you need?
I would say I've probably got better at this year, as I've become more familiar with the way things work at university and the way things work in the NHS, because I'd never really set foot in a hospital before I started my training, other than very briefly as a patient, very briefly. So the whole idea of walking into a hospital environment, straight away it felt familiar, and it felt like it was a place I wanted to be. But it was a place that I didn't know how the systems work, how the people work together. So I would say that, and having done that now for 2 full years, I feel more able to ask for what I want now than I certainly would have done at the start. And me being me and knowing what I need, that's a big part of it, isn't it? Because sometimes you don't even know what it is you need. Whereas I think at this point in my life, I have got a fairly good handle on that. And that's not to say that I always have, because there's
of course
times when I haven't. And going forward, my needs might change and I might be less aware of what they are. But right now, I feel like, yes, this year I have definitely, there have been things on the list that I've wanted to ask for, and I have asked for them, and things that I wanted to achieve, and I've been able to ask the right people to help me to achieve those things. So yeah, I think so. At this moment in time, I'd say probably an 8 for that.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, that's really good. Okay, so just pop that onto your wheel. And I think you're right, for just reflecting back to what you've said. I think this is kind of wrapped up very much in confidence. When you start something brand new, you're not sure, which way to turn, who to ask for things. And like you say, you're not actually aware of your need either. So as time goes on, that changes. So no, that's excellent.
So my 8 needs to be quite close to the middle, doesn't it?
Yes. Yeah. So you're the inner spoke, or the inner wheel, is a 5.
Yes. That's where I'm putting my 8.
Lovely. That's perfect. Okay.
Okay. Good.
Okay. So the next one, in the last 2 years as a student nurse, finishing now your second year, how would you say, let's take us on the journey if you like, but let's focus on the here and now. So on the score of 1 to 10, where would you say you look after yourself, or you're looking after you?
And I'd say probably that has to be nearer a 5, because I think it can be a bit of a very thin line, can't it, between looking after yourself and not looking after yourself. Like, literally it can change from day to day. And we traditionally, we're not very good at it, are we? And certainly I think sometimes it does become that other things get in the way of looking after yourself, but you just do enough just to stop yourself falling off the edge of whatever it is. You're just doing, I think that's me really. I'm really quite lazy, and I just do enough to look after myself. I could probably try harder, but I don't. And so I just, yeah, I'm walking that middle line of just enough to stay on track. But if any big wind came along, then I could be blown off. But as a rule, I'd say 5 really.
I really appreciate your honesty and your vulnerability around that and sharing that, because that's also part of it. And I really appreciate that, because I think over the last year, you and I have talked about this quite often in terms of well-being, and it's very easy to talk about it. And like you're demonstrating, it's not always easy to put it into practice.
Yeah.
And when you are a compassionate being like you are, you do tend to give to other people first. You fill their cups before you fill your own, and so that is it's an ongoing thing. So there's no judgment around it, but as you fill in the wheel on a 5, I want you just to really focus on it if that feels right for you, because the thing with the wheel is that it will change all the time, but this is just highlighting the areas that need your attention, let's say. And I think the way to envision it is, imagine if you were at an 8 on this as well, just like you are with the first one. How would that make you feel? Can you answer that at all? I mean, if you're on a 5 now, and imagine if you enhanced all of this to get you to an 8, what would be the difference for you?
I think probably it would add a little bit more security. I think sometimes you can feel your own fragility sometimes. You can feel like you're holding your life together, but you know really that something could come along and blow you over, and all that would change. And I think when you are properly taking care of yourself, then it's one of those things that can give you a bit more security. We can't know what's coming up really, but you kind of do need to keep your own end of things up, don't you? Because nobody else is going to look after me. Why should they? That's
Absolutely.
not their job. It's my job.
And you need that strength and endurance in your role, because it's so full on. And you know, like you said to me at the beginning of the call, maybe your body's actually trying to get your attention on this by giving you a cold.
Yes.
And you know, you and I both know what we mean by that, because you know, everybody can get colds and flu and goodness knows what. We've all been there, haven't we? But it is your body's way of dealing with something, and it gives you that possibility of questioning it a little bit more. Thank you again for that. Okay, so the next one is, how do you feel on a score of 1 to 10 you plan for tomorrow?
Well, I'm going to go for a 10 on this.
Woohoo!
This is just me. This is absolutely what I do best. I am an ace planner. I really, this is one of the things that I keep on top of in life. I mean, how many years have I spent planning to get to this point already? I've spent 30 years planning to get here. But seriously, I love planning. That one of my favourite phrases in life is that if you fail to plan to fail, and I wholly believe that. And I am busy planning my dissertation, which isn't due until June, but it's written in my head, all of it, every last bit is all in there. It's
Amazing.
But this is the person I am. I do this planning thing, and I feel comfortable planning, and I feel excited about planning. You know, if you can't actually do something right now, plan to do it. It makes you feel great. It really does.
Love it, absolutely love it. It's incredible how that again lights you up so much. It's so much your thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
You're going to make a fantastic nurse because of that alone. Imagine what your rotas are going to look like for everybody. Okay, but with also that in mind, where are you on setting boundaries?
Terrible, absolutely lousy.
Okay, so where are you on the wheel?
A 1.
Oh, really?
A minus number, probably. But this is part of the problem, isn't it? Is that when you are enthusiastic about what you're doing, you don't want to set boundaries with that. You don't want for it to not be in every part of your life. And again, it's a little bit about balance, really, isn't it? That at this moment in time, for me, I can afford to be completely immersed in this world of student nursing, and I can dedicate as much time as I like to this, and I can dream about it as well as doing it all day long, and it just fills me with pure joy right now. And that's absolutely fine. There will come a time when I will have to turn off and not think about nursing and not think about work and just have time of doing whatever else. But right now, I have no boundaries because I just want to take in everything. I want to consider every possibility. I want to say yes to everything. And for now, that's okay. But I realise that I can't carry on like that for 20 years because I would burn myself out. But right now, I have no boundaries.
Okay, I totally understand what you just said, and you've said that to me before. It made a big difference when you decided that you weren't going to set a goal on your specialism. You wanted to have it open so that you could have lots of opportunities, lots of possibilities. I think the way I'd like you to reframe the boundaries thing is think about again the kind of characteristics that we as compassionate caring people tend to hold. Sometimes, not always, but sometimes we can be people pleasers because that's kind of part of our makeup. So I think the boundaries with regard to well-being and protecting yourself is more around that. It's more about being able to say no.
Yeah.
So if you looked at it from that point of view, where would you put yourself on the wheel?
Probably still not too high. I'd probably be looking around about a 3, I would think.
Okay, let's keep it at a 3 because I totally understood what you said in the first part, but I think I needed just to reframe it slightly for you.
Yeah.
Okay. Now obviously that's pretty low. So
The wobbly wheel.
it's a really wobbly wheel. So I'm going to come back to it in a minute if I can, if I may. Sorry, I meant to say, because I think there's a link here and I want to just share it with you. Okay, so we'll come back to that. Let's just move on to the next one. Where are you at celebrating wins?
Well, I think I'm really good at this as well. Yeah, especially with doing the degree, you get lots of opportunities to get wins, don't you? All along the way, there are milestones, whether it be assignment scores or doing something on placement that you wanted to do, or making one of those light bulb moments where you have a sudden revelation about something. I love celebrating that, where you really get that light bulb turning on and you think, my goodness, how did I not know that before in life? You know, those are lovely wins to have.
Yeah, fantastic.
And again, I've had so many of those over this last year, especially, where you just think this is really life-changing stuff that I'm finding out about. So I'd go through a 9 for that, definitely.
Okay, that's fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Moving around, what about being a team player? Where would you say you are on the scale with your cohort of year 2 and also in your work on the wards?
Yeah, and I would, because this is a tricky one, isn't it? Because you would hope that other people would agree with you in your assessment, and so it would be really important to me to know that other people think that I'm a team player, because I want to be a team player, absolutely. Whether other people see that, I hope they do, but it's not a question that I've asked directly of anybody recently, although I do get nice feedback from people, which indicates in that direction, I guess. But I would never give myself a 10 for that, because I feel like it's always a work in progress. There's always more that you can learn.
Yeah, it's fluid, isn't it?
Yeah.
But no, I like the way that you talk about the feedback and that you do get that from other people. And like you say, in doing so, what they're probably intimating is that you are a great team player. But I wonder if that might be something that you might just like to find out a little bit more about. If you find the opportunity to be able to ask, your matron or your line manager on a shift or whatever, that you're doing a bit of an evaluation, where would they rate you themselves? It's just quite interesting to get that, because you can course correct when you know the answer to that. And it's always an assumption, otherwise you need to get that feedback from other people too, don't you?
Well, part of what we do in year 3 is we do a management placement, which is very much based on not just your leadership skills, because I don't think good leaders are just leaders. I think they're still team players, because they're not dictators.
No.
They're leaders in the sense of they take people with them, they guide ideas, they make suggestions, but they listen to the other people in the team as well. So, and they use the team's strengths. It's not just, everything isn't just on that one person's shoulders. And this is what our leadership and management placements will be about. They will be very much focusing on providing students with feedback about our skills to manage, but that has to be within the team setting. So yeah, you're dead right that there will be loads of opportunities coming up to really nail some of those skills, and get good feedback for
I have a feeling that you have no problem with it at all, being a team player. I mean, it's just really also just if you're waiting for the feedback, it's just really feeding into what is a team player and how does that look. I mean, obviously football is a big thing at the moment, in case nobody had noticed. And obviously they all have to be team players, but it's all about the collaboration, the cohesiveness of your colleagues, and all having each other's backs, which I know as a nurse and nursing generally, that really does happen. It's one of the main reasons that people tend to stay in their jobs, is because of the feedback and the coherence of their colleagues, so that's a really big. So what's your score for that one?
I'm going to give myself a 7 for that, because I really want to emphasize the fact that that is an ongoing project and there's still things to learn.
Perfect. No, that's great. Okay, on to the next one, using your voice. Where are you on 1 to 10 on that?
Yeah, now this is an interesting one, because I'm actually going to score myself quite low on this, because although I am gobby, and I am, using your voice kind of, it's not just about your ability to express yourself, but for me, it's about whether you can express yourself within certain environments. And because life ain't all smooth sailing, there are environments where it's quite difficult to express yourself, and a huge organisation like the NHS and the environment of university sometimes it's not always that easy to share what it is that's on your mind and to have your voice heard. And there are times when I feel like there are things that I need to say and I can't say them, and that's just the way it is, you know. So and again, and I would like better skills for myself of maybe negotiating or self-expression or lots of other things really. This is, for me, one of the big things that we don't do well as humans is communicate. You know, we have all this technology around us, all this wonderful engineering, and yet sometimes we do miss out on the basics of just how to communicate in a way that suits everybody. And I do find this in student life, that there are times when we're not listening, or we're not saying the right things, or we're not getting our message across. And it's just that, again, it's a work in progress, and it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just that, like I say, it's just the way life is sometimes. Is everybody can have a little bit of a hard time expressing themselves, and sometimes I just feel like voices don't get heard sometimes.
Mm-hmm. I hear you. Excuse the pun, but I really do.
Thank you.
I really do. Yes, I totally heard you. No, but I think the other thing to say here is that the question, using your voice, I'd like you to be able to think about it in a bigger way as well, because it's not just this, it's using words generally. So how creative can you be in expressing Janet, the nurse, in email, in research, in writing a paper, delivering a speech, you know, getting involved in conferences, talking, sharing, all those kinds of things. Those are all expressions, but it doesn't necessarily just have to be like this. It could be the words that you have in here that you reconfigure in a way that expresses how you feel about something, and it doesn't always have to be negative. It also can be, you know, really positive. I mean, you know, your learning experience of what you discussed at the very beginning about the innovation side of things was phenomenal, and it kind of warrants that being written up somewhere that other people could see. So that's a way of sharing your voice, because it's all about you and Janet. So I want you just to think about it slightly outside the box as well, on how you tell a story. What's the narrative? What's the language that you use? How do you put yourself across? How can you turn a positive into a negative? What can you learn from a negative? All those kinds of things. So does that change your score at all?
Yeah, it probably would. Yeah, because I do feel like I am that I really like about myself that I do enjoy presenting. I do enjoy reading and writing and sharing ideas. I love our conversations, this kind of presenting. I love all of this. So when you talk about using my voice this way, that I am very happy with this and very comfortable with it.
Okay, and that's the bit I want you to be able to focus on, because you need to have that takeaway yourself of having that win. And as you just said, it's the perfect, I was hoping you'd get there, it's the perfect example of how you use your voice. You know, this is going to the world. Well, at least the UK anyway. So I can't think of a better way for you to be able to use your voice than that. So give me a score then on that one.
Oh, well, in that case, I'll have to go really, I would say probably a 7 again.
Fantastic. Yeah, and that makes a big difference, and it also demonstrates how you can change from a low score to a higher score fairly rapidly once you actually embed the learning that is attached to it, and you just literally talked it through, and now you arrive at a different place. And so the last one is do what matters most.
Do I even have to say?
Look at your face. 10.
10. I'm
Yeah.
absolutely doing what matters most to me. I have never been happier in my life, and that's not an exaggeration. Honestly, I've had the best 2 years, coming out of the worst years, as most people did. But I can honestly say that I'm just having the time of my life. I love learning, you know. I just really love learning, and I'm learning to be a nurse, and I know I'm going to love being a nurse. So to do the two things together, and I don't see how actually when you are a nurse that you actually stop learning. You don't. So I just think it's the perfect combination of the two things that I love most.
Wonderful, absolutely wonderful. And we're just coming to the end now, and I want to just reflect on, fill that in on your wheel as well. I just want to reflect on a couple of things. So I'd like you to consider, when you look at your boundaries and looking after yourself, what you could take from your planning and using your voice and doing what matters, because those are really high scores. Yeah. What could you take from those things that would flow into the other things where they're a little bit low? And you don't have to answer that right now, Janet. Just reflect on it and think about it, because there is definite crossover for you to be able to use, for example, planning. You know, you just totally lit up with planning.
Yeah.
How could you use your planning skills to look after yourself a little bit better, so that what you're doing most in this world that you absolutely love is reinforced 100% and continued into your final year and beyond as you become a nurse? Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do. And actually, that question's quite...
Oh, is that Milo? Oh my goodness, he fell off the chair then.
He's just crying outside the door. Come on, baby, come on. Yeah, so actually, it's quite easy to answer that one, isn't it? Because with my level of planning skills, it should be possible for me to work in some time to make sure that I am looking after myself.
Yes.
And it's not even...
Hi, Milo.
He's there, look.
Hi, Milo. Oh, he's so cute.
Yeah. It's not even necessarily about doing things. It's more about just giving you head space, isn't it? Because of course I managed to find time to go shopping or have a cup of coffee. I do make time for those things, but looking after yourself really can be and should be that little bit of mental exercise that just keeps your mental health in good flexibility. And so if I use my planning skills to ensure that I am doing that, so that my head isn't full 24 hours a day with work matters, but there are also, might just be reading a novel rather than reading a textbook, you know.
Definitely taking time out for you. Just, you know, because this is all about well-being, but well-being affects every single thing that we do. But I think that's a great idea, and the same with boundaries. There's all of these things are all linked, obviously. You know, they're all linked. But it's the same thing. You know, even if you look at your do what matters most with a 10, how, you know, if you sat for half an hour and thought about what matters most to you and how you could protect yourself better doing what matters most to you by changing your boundaries of how you do things. So just, you know, think about the boundaries as a protection around you to enable you to be the best version of yourself. And again, there's a tie-in with you know, looking after you too. So yeah, that's it. What are your thoughts? What are your feelings on this exercise?
Do I need to join up my numbers? Do you want to see
Yes.
how wonky my wheel is?
Yes, let's have a look at your lovely wheel.
Hang on, I need to join everything up. It's going to be so spooky, this wheel. It's going to look more like a star, I think.
Oh.
Oh, I'm not sure I dare show you this, actually.
You don't need to.
No, it looks rather...
Oh, wow. Yeah. Gosh. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, just 7, isn't it?
No, they're all on there.
6. No, you left. There's one missing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Oh, I missed my 5 out. I missed my 5. Well, now it looks a bit more like a star.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a little bit wobbly, but it's fine. And the most important thing is it highlights those areas. You know, in an ideal world, and there isn't an ideal world, but what you really are looking for is to be a 7 and above for most things.
Yeah.
Because that will make the wheel really smooth. So that's sort of to focus your attention on.
Because I think that the fact that the irony of this is that the reason why I've got my spokes is because I've got my 10s, you know, and it's almost like my 10s are necessitating the spokes and the other bits. So like doing what matters most to me is kind of what is stopping me from setting boundaries right now. But again, that's okay right now.
Of course.
You know?
Yeah.
But when it becomes not okay, then I will be able to adjust that. And it will become important to say that it's time to leave that alone now and think about something else. But that's for a point in the future.
Definitely.
But
revisit it early in the new year and see where you're at. But you know, I think you can probably borrow a little bit of. You've got enough there to borrow from one to put into another. To take those skills and transfer them across and see if that makes a difference.
Yeah, because I think what this is doing for me now, right now, they're doing what matters most. The planning for tomorrow. Being a team player, celebrating the wins, all of that is providing me with the energy that is driving me through life, you know. So I think it's really positive energy, you know. It's I'm just having a great time.
I can tell. It's wonderful. It's so good. Thank you so much for doing it with me.
Oh, thank you for showing me. Yeah, it's been interesting to kind of get that little bit of an angle on some of the finer detail of what's happening, and I really like the wheel. I think it's very useful.
Good. And so it's got multiple uses. It really has. So you know, you could just take it. You could take it just for one big meeting and do a feedback on everything from that, or it could be 2 whole years. Or it could be 6 weeks coaching. You know, it's got lots and lots of uses. Oh, thank you so much for being with me as always, Janet. And we will do another one if we can. Can we squeeze one in at the end of the year?
I would think so. Yes. I will be beside the seaside, but yes.
Well, actually, let's not do that. Let's go into January, because I am not working between Christmas and New Year either. So that would be the time. Oh, thank you. But I think it might be quite nice to do this in the first week of January, if that's okay. Do you know what your rota's looking like then?
Yeah. I'll still be off from university. We don't go back until the 2nd week of January, so I shall be doing a few little bits of paid work where I can. But that'll be all.
would you rather wait until you've actually gone back as a third year student and see how you feel and to talk about that? I think that might be quite nice.
Yeah, we could do that. That would be very exciting, because the first few conversations we'll be having will be about dissertations and placements and things, service improvement placements. So yeah,
shall we maybe look for mid-January for that reason then?
Yeah, let's do that. Yeah.
Okay, and that will probably be our last one. Well, it is our last one.
Oh.
But that's a really nice, just as you've entered your third year, that's perfect, isn't it?
Yeah, it will be. Yeah. Oh,
okay.
Well, have a happy Christmas.
Oh my goodness. Well, no one said that to me yet. I know we just got into December, but the same to you.
Thank you very much.
And it's so lovely, as always, being with you, and you take lots and lots of care.
You too. See you later.
All right. Bye, Milo. Bye. Bye. Bye.